said it to me, and he said, "You are a forerunner for all the women who will follow you." And I kind of, no pressure, being very shy and not talking, I'm like, how the hell am I going to be a forerunner? And here I am. So you can't plot the path that you're going to take, you just have to start the journey. So his words still stick with me to this day, because when things go wrong and those mistakes happen and you're going, oh, I don't want to tell the boss, it's those words that remind me that I belong here and I can make a difference. The first part of the question was the greatest lesson. Confidence, leadership, resilience. They kind of all go together for me. They're not a separate lesson. As I said, I was shy. I didn't say boo. I ran away from people who were talking to me. I kind of look at them and go, and here I am. Yep. So you're allowed to laugh. It's okay. And the ability to do this, like I was never a public speaker. I was never one to be like, hey, look at me, and here I am. So it gives you the confidence to have the knowledge that you can do things, that you can achieve things, that you are worthy, that you have a place in society and that you belong, which is not something that society in general allows young women. And it can take a long time, but the industry will give it to you very, very quickly. It will also teach you to be a leader for yourself, not just for others, but for yourself, and lead your own life in the space that you want to lead it, which I think is a very powerful thing to have as a female.
Awesome. Jo?
The biggest lesson I learned earlier on, and excuse me for saying this, is know your shit. It's in your power to know your intelligence and knowledge. You need to own your power, and when you share your thinking processes and ability to brainstorm with others, use your voice to do so, and don't be afraid to put your opinions and thoughts and ideas out there, because they are valued and they should be heard, and you need to make the stand of, if you know your subject or your interest, know it well so that you can be included in those discussions and in those planning meetings, or have a seat at the table. But yes, very much so learnt to use your voice and be heard if you know your stuff.
Awesome. And what somebody...
a mentor was back to the gentleman that I worked with 16 years for, and this comes into in regards to communication. We should always communicate calmly, logically, and without antagonising. So it comes down to don't engage in confrontation. And I was not adverse to a little bit of confrontation. So my boss highlighted this little flaw in my communication style, and taught me to treat people well, and in the confrontation situations, and they in return will treat you well. So he said to me, reframe confrontation to carefrontation. And that is being open to listen, being open to talk about the issue at hand, being open to work together for a solution or a resolution. And you must value the other person, you must respect and value the other person's opinion and input, and allow them to be heard, and them vice versa to you. So after that, I have approached confrontational conversations with trying to control my emotions in that way, where yes, the other person needs to be heard, and you don't speak, you listen to them, and then you have your say, and then you work together to work out a resolution and solution. But it is something that I try and avoid confrontation, and amicably get on with people.
Nice.
You try to.
How about you, Amanda?
My mentor and my biggest one is my dad. He was the man that gave me the opportunity to be a plasterer and be a dual plasterers, and I worked for him for 20 years, on and off. He's an amazing man, still is. He taught me all the lessons of what I had to do in the industry, not to take shit from the blokes, because I was the only girl in 10 years. I never saw another woman, another girl on site in 10 years unless it was the lunch lady. So for 10 years I was the only girl, and on high-rise developments where there's 300 employees, and had always been the only girl. So my dad was my biggest mentor and still is my best friend. Makes me very emotional because he's a very cool man. The biggest lesson is not to take shit from blokes, and I know it's 2020 and we've just had International Women's Day, but it still happens. There is still sexism, like that young kid that when we walked up the hallway and there was 15, maybe 20 of us all walking up the hallway, and there was a young boy that walked past and went, "Woof, woof," and then did it again as we all walked past. And that, to me, unless he had Tourette's, don't know, maybe he did, it was a disgrace. And we all stood back, and I know you young girls, I was the only one that said something. I probably shouldn't have said what I said, but I think you've got to learn not to take shit, because you're going to get it out on site. You really are. Yeah, and you need to be able to throw it back intelligently. Mine wasn't probably so intelligent, but it made him feel this big.
It's not just
So,
site though, it's every day in life.
that's right, it's not out on site, it's every day and out on site. So that, be confident in yourselves and be confident in what you do. Always. My dad said to me, always be the first one at work, always be the last one to leave, and always be the hardest worker. And I still do that. I'm still at work. I work in an office now, and I'm still at work before anybody else is there. I'm still at work when everybody else has left. I answer my phone at 6 o'clock. I answer emails at 9 o'clock at night. I work my ass off, and I've had to get where I am because I'm in a male-dominated industry still now, and still will be, I reckon, for another 20 years. So that's my advice, and my dad gave it to me, and don't take shit.
And I think from that too, because you're a female in a male-dominated world, you have to work that little bit harder.
Yep.
Just to prove that
Yep.
you've got the metal to do it.
And I just want to add, also support other women. If there's a woman who doesn't feel like they can speak out for her, just like you did for the young ladies here.
Yeah.
You know, you guys might not feel confident to do that, but find a woman who will, and we're out there if you can't tell.
Yeah.
Tracy?
Biggest lesson, I think it's owning anything, owning your mistakes. But like we said earlier, have the solution. So I think going to a boss or anyone, a manager, and not having a solution, have a well thought out solution or two, because you can then brainwave that, and you're halfway there in solving the problem. Biggest mentor or biggest advice from mentor was probably be yourself, and that comes with age and a bit of grey hair. Being yourself. We're females in a male industry. I still wear lipstick, pink boots, earrings to site, and that's just me. So don't be afraid to be feminine in this industry. I think that's how we stand out. And being feminine also means that we usually have a bit more eye for detail, and that's where we do get it above males in the industry, where we can tick things off, we can check things off, we spot things that could go wrong quicker than a male can.
Does anybody have any questions? I need to get Maddie to answer something, because then I've recorded everybody and I can get this all chopped up, and then everybody's had a little something. So
What would you like?
well, I don't know, Maddie. What are you?
What's your first impressions of
Yeah, good one.
Because we're all oldies in the game. You're new. What do you think? Because
You've got no grey hair.
we think,
Trust me, I do. I found one yesterday morning. They come out and
After 2 months, oh my goodness.
because we keep saying like things have changed, things are different, but we
you're
also
coming
know,
in now.
we also know that it hasn't changed enough. So I'm curious about that.
for me, I keep saying young, but it's true. Like
You are young.
I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
young. I'm a baby, and I embrace that. But I think the biggest thing for me is that I can definitely tell how it would have been so difficult for you guys, and I commend you guys for having the balls for it, going for it. Lady balls. bigger than
Ovaries,
menopause.
big ovaries.
Ovaries. Well, I mean, they do a lot more work than I definitely see how there is a shift in the way that women are respected by men, and that just, I've got uncles and cousins that are guys that work in construction, and you know, I cop it from them, but that's family, so you kind of
Take the rest.
take it. But just even talking, I remember the first time I went out to site with one of our older guys that works there. He's in his mid-60s. Sweetest, he's like a grandpa, like to me, he reminds me of my own pop. But he took me out, and he's obviously been in the industry since he was young. And he said to me, he's like, you know, when I first started, it was odd to see women on site, and you know, you kind of give them a bit of slack and like, what are you doing here? You should be here. And he goes, but now if I ever see a guy do that, like you'll see about 30 other guys go up to him and like slap them across the back of the head for talking to a girl like that.
Nice.
Because, you know, it's true, because I
That's
think,
a change.
yeah, and I think, and I notice like every time I go on site, you know, I still am there's a bit of apprehension, but they're still so nice, and like they'll come up to chat. There's a few that, actually the other day Amanda and I went out to a site, and this guy, Amanda said hello, and she was really nice and really happy, and the guy just grunted at her, and she was like, well, someone's
But
happy.
that could happen anywhere.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Anywhere.
exactly.
And
I
grunt is a language. in
Yes.
construction.
Yeah.
It is actually.
This is true, but I think that's the biggest thing, like, just, and I know, because like you said, being yourself, I'm getting there. I definitely,
It comes with age.
I feel like compared to when I was your age, I was nervous about, am I being too confident? Will people like that? Am I going to get, I used to get bullied for being too extrovert. I was the opposite to you. I was loudmouth, in your face, kind of just said what I wanted to say. And you'd cop crap for that. But I think just, you know, being yourself, exactly what you said, like, everyone's nice, like I said, and the time is changing, and it's this society today, like, you know, we do respect women a lot more. Women have fought so hard for their rights in both like political aspects, career-wise, all of that, and I think we've got a long way to go, but
We've come a long
we've
way.
come a long way.
And that's good to hear from you, that we actually have come a long way, because sometimes we forget that. So
Yeah, no, definitely.
And in saying that, when you go to work or go on site, be yourself. Don't try and fit in. Don't try and be one of the guys.
Yes.
Just be yourself, because you need to earn your stripes, but you need to earn your own stripes. You don't need to take on anyone else's
your way.
persona. Exactly.
I think that's
Just-
great advice.
It is.
You
Just
do
be
see a lot of young
yourself.
girls go out there and they're when they
that's-
don't need to, but they're trying to be one of the boys.
Don't try and fit in. Just be yourself, and you will be accepted. And in a slow way, they will get to know you, but they will accept you for who you are and what you are, and that's what you want.
100%.
And that's what comes back to them being good, to doing all the things, learning, putting your hand up, being good at what you do, putting that little bit of extra effort in, owning it when you make a mistake, and then having solutions. It's the whole package, and all of these things as you grow and get a bit older, what give you that confidence and resilience and the ability to sit up here and talk confidently like we all are, when I'm sure some of us, including me, never thought we would be doing anything like this when we first started out.
And that's one of our most effective tools, is self-confidence. When we believe in our value and our contribution, that's
And if you don't have it, like someone said last week, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.